Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
Well, it's that transition time of the year where people aren't doing as much ice fishing if the ice is deteriorating everywhere, it seems like. So be very careful if you are out there. But minds are turning to snow goose hunting, turkey hunting, or maybe going up to the Rainy River and doing some fishing. But we're going to talk about some of the other outdoor opportunities that exist this time of year, because there are some chances for you to get outside and enjoy the outdoors, whether you're hunting, fishing, or doing something else. We're going to talk to Erik Osberg right now from Ottertail Lakes Country about some of those opportunities right now. Erik, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Bret?
I'm doing well, and I know you're excited. You're going to come up and join us for the big old 500 show party.
I'm going to do my best. I have to make sure that my family's calendar aligns, but I plan on being there at this point. Yes, sir.
You fished the Rainy River before, correct?
I did, and I'm not saying I'm an innovator or anything like that, but I like to think that I fished the Rainy before it was cool, like pre-Facebook, right? Like I used to be a sports anchor in Duluth. This is 20 years ago, okay? Pre-internet. Well, not pre-internet, but pre-Facebook anyways. And so I learned about the Rainy River when I was a sportscaster up in Duluth, and Buddy and I would go make videos for the television news station. And then and that was awesome. And then I didn't go for a long time. And then last year was my first time back. I had been a couple other times, but I was filming, not fishing. And last year, Rand and Olson and I went up there, and we had ourselves an adventure. So yeah, I love fishing the Rainy River. It's that opportunity for the fish of a lifetime every day. And that's there's not many places in the world where that can happen. But Rainy River, when it's open, you can catch a fish of a lifetime.
And last time you left at 2 a.m?
we did. It had been the first time we had been there in a while, and Randon had never been. And so we left Ottertail County at 2 a.m, and we made it up there. We wanted to be the first ones there, right? Like, we didn't want to be in a long line, because long lines happen. And so we got there at like 5:47, and we were the only ones at the exit. so we learned that we didn't have to leave at 2 a.m. in the future. But we got out there, we got fishing. The first fish that we got was on a crankbait. That sounds different. That sounds odd, right? But you know how much I love crankbaits. And so we got our first fish on a crankbait. We had 0 minnows with us whatsoever. It was all artificials. We caught fish on plastics. We've caught fish on like ripping wraps or lipless cranks, rattled baits, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, I was able to connect with a 29.5.
Nice.
And it was a fun fish to catch. Randon outfished me, but he got the most. I got the first, he got the most, and then I got the biggest. And we fished until dark. And then we drove back. So,
well, that puts you $1 up, I think, by my calculations.
Yeah, I was $1 up on the way home. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. I bet it was a fat fish too.
Oh, it was so plump. And as you know, Bret, I mean, there's a moment where you're not sure if it's a sturgeon or if it's a walleye, right? Like you think you have a bite, or you get a bite, you set the hook, and it's just thunk, right? And they're river fish, or at least they're in there now, so there's current, and you're fighting the current and the fish, and this thing just stayed down and stayed down and stayed down, and I was like, it might be a sturgeon. It might be a sturgeon. I don't know. And then when we saw the fish, I think Randon's words were, "Oh my God!" Like, when you can get a fishing guy and he, with a lot of enthusiasm, right? Like, he's saying, "Oh my God!" So and then we got it in the boat and took a couple pics real quick and let it go. But yeah, it's Rainy River in the spring. Here's the video of it. Rainy River in the spring is it's a special place. And the other thing that I would say about this trip is, if you'll notice in the background, there's no other boats around.
Yeah.
We and it wasn't really busy that day, so it's possible that there would have been boats if it was a Saturday or whatever. But we found an area. And it wasn't a special area. It was just some kind of humps in the bottom of the river, and it was. I'm not going to forget that. There's the world's worst high five. we did everything right except for the high five. That was not.
That's not hilarious. Well, the other thing I noticed in the background, Erik, is the snow on the banks, and I just think it's way cool when you can fish open water out of your boat and there's snow on the banks. I mean, I don't want to fish when it's real cold and everything is freezing up and your line's freezing up. But when you can fish when there's snow on the banks, that's pretty neat. It is. And I like, here's a tip. I don't know if it's a pro tip, but here's some unsolicited advice. If you have a buddy heater, okay, if you're going up to the Rainy River, and obviously safety first, don't get flame around gasoline. But if you have a buddy heater, bring it, and bring towels. Once your hands get wet, if it's cold, right? Like I've been on the Rainy River when it was that Saturday morning, it was 4 degrees below zero. And so I'm not saying you got to bring all your ice fishing gear, but think ahead. Nothing ruins a trip like you can't feel your hands anymore. Bring a buddy heater, bring towels, and you don't have to bring minnows. I mean, you can do it with plastics and cranks and blade baits and anything that moves or rattles, and don't be afraid to get away from the crowd and try something. Try something different. Try a new area. Yeah. Well, and it's fun to hook into a sturgeon up there, especially when you're running light gear. If you don't mind, sometimes it might take an hour to land that sturgeon if you're running your walleye gear. I know a lot of guys will just cut their lines if they run into that, but I think it'd be fun, if you can battle a sturgeon like that. I think it's great. And I was pleasantly surprised when I learned about the sturgeon opportunities in Ottertail County, Erik.
And me too, right? Like that, and that's why my job has been cool, is because there's been a lot of discovery for me. I didn't know sturgeon existed in Ottertail County, and the DNR has been reintroducing those into the Red River watershed for 20 years. So every August they dump roughly 5,000 fingerlings in Ottertail Lake, and they make their way to different places, upriver, downriver, wherever it may be. And those sturgeon are getting big. My personal best sturgeon on Ottertail Lake is 45 inches. It's not a world class, it's not a Rainy River caliber, but there's 50, not yet, but there's 50 inch sturgeon swimming around Ottertail Lake. And I don't know if you've ever been out there and heard them, but sturgeon jump, right? They jump a lot, so you'll be there you go. Erik McQuaid, while he was fishing the NWT, I don't know if that was pre-fishing or not, but Erik McQuaid, it was pre-fishing. Yeah, if he was in the tournament, he probably would have cut his line. But like they got a couple. They're all over, dude, and they're like when we're early in this. What we'll do pre-opener, what we'll do is we'll go out to Ottertail and we'll just put on the polarized sunglasses, and we'll just drive around and look for fish, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see schools of walleye, but you will see a ton of sturgeon, and they're big and beautiful, and it's a sight to see. So,
well, with a lot of people practicing catch and release on those fish, which it's either by regulation or just by practice. A lot of people do that anyway. A lot of the big sturgeon you're seeing on the Rainy are products of that Clean Water Act back in 1972 when they cleaned up that river. So some of those fish are probably 50, 60, 70-ish years old, getting up into that 60 to 70 inch range. If they've been stocking them for the last 20 years down there in Ottertail, you see them in the next 20, 30 years, you're going to have some pretty nice fish down there.
Yeah, and they say it takes 20 to 25 years before they reach reproductive maturity, right? Mm-hmm. So whereas a walleye or a bluegill or whatever, they can start reproducing pretty early in their life. Sturgeon live to be 100 years old, right? So it takes them till they're 25 until they start making little sturgeons. So yeah, the future of sturgeon fishing, and there is a catch and release season,
okay,
on inland lakes, and it closes. You're gonna have to check your reg books. Don't quote me on this. It closes in April. But it reopens on June 16th. So you've got the walleye opener, the pike opener. You've got the muskie opener June 1st, and then you've got the sturgeon opener on June 16th. So you could come to Otter, and that's the cool thing. When I talk about sturgeon fishing in Ottertail County, it's awesome on the Rainy River, unless it's 10 degrees, right? Imagine it's 67 and sunny, and you're catching a sturgeon, and so it's a pretty good time of year to be targeting big fish anyways.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Did you know there are more than 1,000 lakes in Ottertail County?
Yep, and I'm gonna fish as many as I can. I'm an outdoorsy otter. Nothing beats a full day of fishing for me. The lakes of Ottertail County give me plenty of options to lower my boat and snag the perfect catch. Not an outdoorsy otter? No problem. Ottertail County has something for everyone. You just need to find your inner otter.
To find your inner otter, go to OttertailLakesCountry.com.